Yellow, a comedy in 2 acts. All art is at once surface and symbol. Those who go beneath the surface do so at their peril. Those who read the symbol do so at their peril. Oscar Wilde. The very banality and innocence of the first act allows the blow to fall afterward with more awful effect. Robert Chambers. This play is a monster. Sam Lake. Thank you for coming. It pleases me more than you know to see a house like this in attendance for a play with such a colorful reputation. For over a century, The King in Yellow has been maligned, deemed a cursed play. But we are in the modern era. Antiquated fears of the theater no less, have no place in this age. To think of those silly Victorians, so easily shaken by a bit of mummery, their monocles popping off their faces as they gasp in astonishment at these theatrics, tickles me tremendously. But I digress. I welcome you to this ritual space, this theater, and I applaud your courage. Not that there's anything to fear here, of course. Please enjoy. And don't take this play too seriously. It is a comedy, after all. It's right there in the title. See you anon. One chamomile with a smattering of honey.
Thank you, Giles.
Will you be needing anything else of me, sir?
No, thank you. To need of anything has such a desperate connotation, I would never dream of engaging in such unattractive behavior.
Very good, sir.
I do very urgently require one thing, however, as you're so clearly looking for something to do.
You are very low maintenance, sir.
Am I really? I'll have to remedy that immediately. The only thing more unattractive than desperation is contentment. It reeks of provinciality. I don't think it's appropriate to be categorized either way.
You are very difficult to pin down, sir.
Well, I never said that.
You needed, urgently required something?
Yes, take a look at my painting. What do you think?
You would like a frank evaluation?
He'll be round shortly. Do remember to have those hors d'oeuvres prepared. But no, I'd like your honest opinion.
It stirs feelings of provincial contentment.
I do believe you're having a laugh. Or engaging in paradox, neither of which is appropriate behavior for a man of your station. Stirred feelings of contentment is practically a contradiction in terms. Try again.
It's a good painting, sir.
No notable features. Nothing striking about it.
I do recall you expressing a distaste for desperation.
This is nothing of the sort. My tastes are carefully cultivated to only those which further my chosen aesthetic, which is invariably stylish. This is not desperation, it is merely a terribly strong desire for validation.
The colors are pretty.
Thank you, Giles. You've penetrated its deepest layer of meaning and changed the landscape of artistic criticism forever.
Thank you, sir.
Giles, truly, you must hold some appreciation for the arts. What shall I take up next? Sculpture? Topiary? Interpretive dance?
I enjoy a good book, sir.
Ah, there's only one good book, Giles. The good book. I won't have you experiencing any moral degradation on my watch.
Forgive me for having to ask, sir, but is this an example of the French irony you've been practicing lately?
No, that was sarcasm. You will know when I engage in irony because it will always have an element of truth in it.
I'll see Master Francis in.
Remember the hors d'oeuvres. Say, old chap, what have you been doing to poor Giles? Kindly Jet seems to have his botherations on. We were discussing the finer points of art criticism. Ah. Come. May I? Oh no, it's dreadful. Just a first draft. Here, let me just...
Come now, Ambrose. It can't have been any worse than my turn in Malvolio's Revenge.
Oh, no, I wouldn't go as far as that. Thank your lucky stars, that one never made it to press, so you would have lost all claim to the succession. Where were you again? 57th?
53rd. And you'd have to be off your chump to think I'd ever take the egg, you silly chuckaboo.
Is that why you still insist on using a stage name?
My dear Ambrose, every actor worth their salt uses a stage name. It is dreadfully important that every performance be as far removed from reality as possible. If no one wants to see Frank Wilde as Romeo, the legendary Preston Howell, well, they come in droves. For an actor to go on stage as himself playing the part is far too intimate. Probably break out in hives.
Isn't the work of the theatre to, hold the mirror up, reflect some measure of truth?
Ambrose!
Frank!
Sorry, it's just refreshing to hear such naivete from you. No judgment, it is positively fizzing.
Cynicism doesn't suit you, my dear. It's unbecoming of the young.
You're the same age.
Ah, do you think I'm young?
But no, it is well understood in this age that the very notion of dramatic truth is simply another dramatic device. And besides, if it were possible to depict the truth in the theater, who's to say it would be suitable for the stage? The truth could be dreadfully dull or horrid or in slant rhyme.
Thank you, Giles. Just set it over there. At any rate, it is far too early to be speaking on such lofty and remote ideals. Careless of me to broach the subject.
You know better than to apologize for letting a gentleman ramble upon a subject of which he has no business speaking. It was simply polite of you.
Then allow me to shift our attention to a more immediate and substantive matter. The Countess and her daughter will be here shortly, and you need to be properly briefed that this is to go according to plan.
So this wasn't a mere social call? At any rate, I thought you preferred more improvisation in your romances.
And I do, but this is nothing of the sort. This is an engagement, not romance, and if I'm to be subjected to the grinding wheels of legality and celibacy, I'll be damned if the process isn't done artfully, or at least smoothly. Wealth like that is not to be left to the fickle winds of my capacity for charm.
Which I assure you is as constant and steadfast as good Giles here.
Tell me, Giles, however do you spend your time when I'm not hopelessly relying on your pampering and stoic presence?
Catch up on my reading, sir.
Well, we shan't be expecting the ladies for several minutes yet. By all means, read on.
You quite sure this is what you want?
Delilah and I get on marvelously. She's a perfectly cromulent choice, well-bred and well-moneyed, and I tire of having to entertain young ladies.
I can say I didn't expect this move from you at all. I'd hazard a good third of your jokes assume the form of some kind of disparagement of marriage.
That just means it's time for new material. But come, we need to talk about this afternoon.
All I can say is I hope you're not trying to rope me into one of your madcap schemes.
Don't be absurd.
You ought not be trying to enlist me into another of your ill-advised gambits.
Since when have
And
I
I
ever-
can't believe you're forcing me into another dodgy ruse of yours.
No! All I need you to do is attend to the young lady Dara whilst I lavish my attention on the Countess.
No. Is that all?
That encompasses it.
No shenanigans? No plots or ploys?
I don't expect it shall come to that.
No. I was rather hoping for something more complicated.
Does the prospect of making love to a young lady bore you?
No, it's just, it's been a while and I'm not sure if I'm up to dick.
Why, it's the simplest thing in the world. Don't you have any admirers from your shows?
Preston Howell has a reputation to uphold.
For the icy chastity of an ecclesiastic.
And he is dreadfully aloof, yes, but I thought you of all people would appreciate a carefully cultivated image.
I heartily endorse your choice, though abstinence does tend to endow one with a work ethic unbecoming a member of your class.
I've never said
Nonetheless, I can see the matter discomforts you, and as your friend, it is my duty to save you from embarrassment. A quixotic duty, but mine all the same. I know what will help.
I knew it. This is one of your patented japeries.
No! What I'm about to offer you is damn serious. The ultimate means to a woman's heart, never to be used lightly or carelessly. Are you ready?
I say you're getting me marvelously worked up over all this. Is this part of it?
No, my dear boy. You shall soon understand everything.
Voila! Understand everything now.
There are few souls in this world whom I feel would bear the responsibility with all necessary grace. I entrust him to you.
Sorry, what I meant to say is I understand jack shit right now.
Frank. You say you're uneasy making love to a young lady. Here's your solution.
We just call it wooing.
You see, people are attracted to artistic talent. Puppet here is the perfect vessel for channeling and displaying that talent in a non-threatening manner.
A non-threatening manner.
Yes, a non-threatening manner.
Surely you must be joking. You never bandy about that unsightly thing in the presence of a woman.
What are you saying? Puppet is fantastic.
And besides, I don't need some catawampus marionette to show that I'm artistic. I am an actor.
Yes, exactly my point.
Don't think I'm a good actor.
I think you are a joy to witness on the stage. And an even greater joy off the stage.
Unmitigated gall.
Purely your taste in projects, I assure you. Here,
What are you doing?
try him on.
I'd rather not.
Try on the puppet.
I
Fred.
have only just met the fellow.
Trust me. Put him on. There. Give him a whirl. Come now, Frank, don't be shy. You know you want to do it. You know you want to come up with a good voice for him. Just say the first thing that pops into your head.
I don't want you to get married.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I thought we might just still...
I thought I'd been clear on the matter.
You were clear, very clear, but... Well, Puppet has a bit of a mind of his own is all.
And a meddlesome bent as well, I see.
Only a touch of skylarking. You're not the only one with a monopoly on roistering knavery, after all.
Fine. Fine, you've made your point. Just remember, he's here in the closet should you require his services.
All malarkey aside, would it really be appropriate for us to be seeing these ladies unchaperoned?
You must be joking.
Well, Creston Howell may have a reputation for the smolderingly standoffish, but Frank Wilde is the most notorious rake. Some parts of town, they call me the terror of the ladies, you know.
Is it their terror or yours?
All I'm saying is that maybe things would go more swimmingly if we had some sort of moral guardian present. Another woman, perhaps.
Puppet will have to do. He can guard your virtue for an afternoon.
I really wish you hadn't sprung this on me.
My friend, the stakes couldn't be lower. I just need some time alone with Delilah to seal the deal. All you need to do is be your bewilderingly charming self.
What if I were not myself?
The morning philosophy slot has been taken, but I could pencil you in for this evening.
Ambrose, what if I was someone else entirely? I do have some costume pieces in the carriage.
Two problems with that. The first is that I've already informed them that you'd be here, darling. And the second is that it sounds corny as hell.
You don't even know what I'm suggesting.
I don't need to know exactly what you've got in mind to know that it's some variety of contrived, cliched charade, and this is a hokey nonsense-free zone.
You don't think I could pull it off. You don't think I'm a real artist.
Of course I do. Come, Frank, the ladies will be here soon, and we need to have a united front.
I'm just going to step outside for a
But
moment.
don't you do it, Frank.
Just going to get some fresh air.
Don't you pull some Frank overdone pantomime!
Be back.
Frank!
Sir, there has been a complication with the biscuits.
Sneak on.
It seems we haven't the flour to prepare enough for every guest this afternoon.
Well, why didn't you purchase an adequate amount of flour for an afternoon of lovemaking?
Sir, I'm not sure that term of courtship.
It's well in advance, and Miss Castaigne has thoroughly demonstrated a talent for devouring a well-laid spread.
Well,
Giles, please, give it to me straight. Or rather, any other way.
when it seems that when I say you have run out of flour, what I'm actually referring to is the fact that you have run out of money.
Have I no credit?
You have spent the remainder of your funds on silks, art reproductions, and frankly, an unconscionable amount of nights out at the club.
Well, a man requires hobbies.
Which has left you precisely enough in the way of funds to compensate my time preparing these 3 biscuits.
Oh, dear me.
If it's all the same to you, I think it's time I took lunch myself. Perhaps I shall lunch to the afternoon. Catch up on my reading.
My dear, sweet, precious Giles, you can't run off on me like this.
Oh, I'll be close by, sir. And as soon as I am made whole, I shall resume my steadfast
It's
service.
a conspiracy. You're all trying to sabotage my engagement, but I won't have it. And I won't have you trying to stop the exploitation of your labor. It's unseemly.
Sir, only gentlemen of your stature possess the grace to avoid unseemly behavior like mine.
I suppose that's true. Dear me. What the devil are you reading, anyway?
The King in Yellow, sir.
Ah. I never thought you were one for the theater.
It's in keeping with my class. Good afternoon, sir.
I always knew it would come to this. Abandoned by my friends and employees. My company a poor substitute for gambits and charades. Enough to seduce a Byronic countess with nothing but my wits and these three Ah! It was perfectly all right. I had all the time in the world. Oh, good heavens. Giles! 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 Oh dear, he actually means it.
Good afternoon. Have you some time to account for the state of your soul?
Thank you. No. Now, Ambrose, this isn't the worst spot of trouble you've been in. I merely need apply my wits to the task before me. Damn my wits. Well, no matter. Frank will be here soon and I can lean on him in a pinch. Thank heavens. Oh, thank heavens! You've arrived!
Was there any doubt? My dear Ambrose, I realize that until this point in your life you have been a confirmed bachelor, but need you decorate like one?
What's the point of creating art if not to justify the artist's lifestyle?
Yes, the decadent bohemian lifestyle is the logical result of painting cows. Was it flowers? I suppose they do look alike.
The subject matter is of an advanced sort, requiring an insight and discernment found among few.
You're such a blowhard.
Don't you know it, Philistine?
Darling.
Darling. And you must be Dara. A pleasure to meet you.
Yes.
Well, how was your journey?
Bumpy. I haven't been this sore since my last visit to Cairo. That reminds me, the horses still need stabling. I didn't see any sign of a footman out there.
You could have taken a carriage.
Riding in the open sky is nurturing for the spirit. Dara could use the sunlight.
Yes, but it's hardly pleasant weather, and with the reports of rioting I've heard lately.
Hardly riots. I was in Sicily last year, my dear. It would be generous to call the unrest in town a small kerfuffle. Days like this appeal to this one.
The clouds, the whistling winds. A desolate, desperate moor like this would only look inappropriate in any other season. Like a naked corpse.
Yes. Well, I'll just see to the horses. I mean, the footman.
Dara, I told you the man has delicate sensibilities.
It is in the nature of delicate things to break.
Yes, but that doesn't mean it's skillful to knock a piece of china off the table like some cat. Rather fair, my dear. This gentleman has a purpose. You oughtn't to shock him so. If the horses don't get to him first.
He's not like your usual paramours.
Well, he may not know his way around a horse, or how to properly manage a staff, but that's not what I'm looking for in a man.
But that's not what
I know.
What are you looking for?
A particular kind of rascality.
Stable master was having a lie down. All sorted now.
It sounded as though he may have had some trouble.
Nothing of the sort. Giles is a wonder with horses.
And in the kitchen, I see.
An unexpected visitor from the church. I couldn't call myself a gentleman if I begrudged a woman of the cloth a few biscuits.
No, I thought I saw someone on their way out.
What did she want?
Clearly, she had the heart of a bandit and wanted to deprive poor Mr. de Jong of one of his rare pleasures.
Precisely. The whole scene reeked of indulgences.
Oh, it's far too early in the day for indulgence. One must always spend the morning in austerity first, so that any delights of the evening can be charitably viewed as a mere flaw in character, and not one's chief personality trait.
You come dangerously close to evoking the same tone of didacticism I've often heard you pin down.
No, my criticism is reserved for those tedious fools who build the entirety of their identity on laxity and leisure. For such a one, there are no true pleasures. When I indulge, I make a point of doing it as thoroughly as possible, and in as glamorous a fashion as possible.
I'm shocked. Is this truly the example you wish to set before your daughter?
No, Dara has never been the impressionable sort.
What is one moment of pleasure, or one moment of grace before an eternity of nothingness?
See?
Well, thank goodness I'm here to set an example for us all. I've arranged for a chaperone and everything.
Really? You needn't have.
That should be him now. Giles! Giles! Oh, yes. He must be at work on the next round of hors d'oeuvres.
Really, Ambrose, to think you leave a guest standing at the door like that?
You going to introduce me? Of course. This is my
Sister.
Sister from the city. She's been
In rehearsing a play. We've got the afternoon off, and I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to make the acquaintance of my dear nephew. Brother's fiancée. My name is Francine. Enchanté.
My dear Francine, what play are you rehearsing? I'm a great lover of the theater, and it would give me great pleasure to see you on stage.
Salome. Though to tell you the truth, it is a rather poor translation of the original French.
Oh, wasn't that play banned on publication?
It was, but other recently published works have thrown into sharp relief just how innocent the work really is. It's practically a morality play. Though if you do come to attend a performance, I must spare you the potential shock. I am playing a man.
How transgressive! Ambrose, you never told me you had a sister, let alone such a bold one.
Yes, well, one doesn't normally speak of actors in the family.
That's the play about the beheading of John the Baptist, isn't it?
Indeed it is.
The theatre is full of nothing but violent sensationalism these days.
Shakespeare had a lot of blood in his plays. Blood, dismemberment, ghosts.
Ultimately, unsuccessful attempts to thrill the crowd. You cannot frighten an audience with a man covered in sheets. There's no getting around the knowledge that nothing you see performed on stage is real. No, the only thing that frightens people is ideas.
Salome must be frightening then if it was banned.
Well, it is a touch saucy, and besides, biblical works haven't been permitted on stage before now.
Well, what changed?
The church realized there were worse ideas that could be spread.
Oh, yes, the King in Yellow. Oh, denounced by press and pulpit, censured by even the most advanced of literary anarchists. It's almost like an infectious disease from the sound of it. Whatever could be so wicked about it?
In an art form comprised solely of lies, the only thing shocking about it these days could be the truth.
And what truth would that be?
Do I look like someone who reads?
I suppose not. Too busy being idle.
My brother is entirely too sedentary. Go on, fetch your older sister some biscuits.
Fresh out, my precious. A shame. Frank was to be stopping by soon, and you know what a glutton he is.
Oh, Frank, that rapscallion! Lucky I'll be here when he arrives. He has something of a reputation, you see. Takes a woman with a certain level of fortitude to resist his charms.
I don't think that will be a concern.
His charm is purely in his naivete and lack of guile.
Lack of guile, you say? Hogswallop! Certainly wasn't my experience with him. Say, I think I hear someone at the door.
I don't hear anything.
I'll just go check. Good evening, madam. Oh, good evening, Frank. I wasn't sure you'd be coming. But I'd never leave my good chum Ambrose without a chaperone. I should say you're the one who needs a chaperone. Well, I'm going to the facilities to adjust my makeup. But remember, I have my eye on you. Well, I too am going to use the facilities, as I am going to take another route, as I do not wish to track mud through the house. Oh, such a gentleman!
Breathtaking.
This Frank sounds like quite the lady killer.
He's harmless, trust me.
Dara, try not to frighten him too much. You'll find the English gentleman an especially nervous sort.
I must say, it's not often we find a woman with such a continental view on things.
Oh, there's nothing for it. Travel broadens the spirit, weakens ethnocentrism, and frees one to enjoy certain delights one might otherwise be prohibited. Sadly, it's incurable.
To justify one's actions by their legitimacy in another culture is a most appealing concept, to be sure.
And when you return home, you take comfort in the vices that were held as innocent elsewhere.
Well, I'm glad to see this country still has its charms for you.
No, something as abstract and impersonal as a country holds no charm whatsoever. How tedious it is for anyone to declare their love of a state. Oh, people. Even the dullest of them have something of value. Usually in the parts of themselves they condemn the most.
What a generous assessment. And here I thought we all ought to be condemning ourselves more.
Do you mean anything you say?
Why, I say nothing at all. It's the only way to avoid saying anything foolish.
Dara, observe Mr. Dijon. The artfully languid poses, the studied flippancy. Once you recognize the pattern, the meaning of the statements becomes perfectly clear. People who mean everything they say are simply those that cannot see that every statement contains its exact opposite.
Ah, Frank. What kept you?
Well, I had to clear the mud from my shoes. Ah, you must be the ladies Delilah and Dara. How do you do?
My. So this is a scamp we've heard so much about. You don't look particularly threatening. Perhaps you are, though, to those who prefer non-threatening men.
Madam, you are very forward.
When a snow leopard begins stalking you as you scale the face of the Himalayas, you learn to make quick assessments. You may make your first tremulous steps towards something that resembles courting my daughter.
That was fast.
Dara will know if you're suitable.
I suppose we'd ought to get to know one another then. It'd be terribly rude of me to refuse such an invitation, I'm sure. Care to take a stroll around the grounds?
Yes.
Capital. A word before you depart, Frank, my dearest.
Certainly, my good boy.
What in Jove's name are you playing at? Are you trying to sabotage me?
Don't worry, Ambrose. I'm coming at things from both angles to ensure that things go as smoothly as possible. Think of it as hedging your bets. There's no way things can go poorly now with two people in your corner.
The stakes were already low. It was just a visit to confirm the matter. How is this helping?
I am having a wonderful time. And I'm sorry, Ambrose, but Dara is being delightfully patient. And I would hate to sully my reputation by keeping her waiting. Shall we?
I would be most delighted.
My dear, would it be indecorous of me to suggest that was somewhat indelicately handled?
Oh, well, it's helpful to make some things explicit for her. And with all his stammering, a push seemed in order for him as well.
Well, you saw how nervous he was. A false move from her and he's liable to keel over.
All the more reason. Without challenge, we can never reach those peak experiences you always hear the poets going on about.
I find I can peak quite regularly without the indignity of effort.
How vulgar!
Nothing of the sort. A peak experience is nothing less or more than the fulfillment of a desire. It is merely a question of magnitude, both the desire and the fulfillment. If, say, I'm very hungry and Giles prepares an especially tasty muffin, that's a peak. I peak constantly. In fact, I'm peaking right now.
What?
Suppose I meet a lady in one of London's more exclusive clubs. Our eyes lock. We share a delightful conversation over cigars, and 3 weeks later, we're sitting in my parlor discussing our engagement. What is that, if not the deepest, most satisfying fulfillment of a desire?
If nothing else, you have a smoothness to you. I'm surprised you haven't rubbed off on Frank more.
Now who's being vulgar?
Ambrose Dijon, you are incorrigible. I find it most pleasing.
Would you see fit to grant me one more of my desires?
It depends. Is it as inappropriate as your jokes?
Well, we are alone.
Yes. Quite alone.
Free from peering eyes.
Free to express our passion.
Oh, Delilah.
Ambrose.
Well, that was lovely.
Yes. Quite exhilarating.
So much so that we really must be careful with how much we allow ourselves to give in to our passion before we wed.
It would be irresponsible. Why, I've often heard that marriages that last the longest are those that restrain their desires as much as possible, lest the flame of love burn out too quickly.
To say nothing of setting a moral example.
Oh, to say nothing of it.
It's only right we wait until the wedding night.
Or even longer.
Or even longer.
You've never been married before, have you?
Not that I recall.
So it wouldn't be unfair to say you're not the marrying kind?
A confirmed bachelor. Up until I met you.
No other women have piqued your interest.
I wouldn't say that. Bachelorhood merely affords one many freedoms. A young man's game, though.
But at a certain point in one's life,
There are certain pressures, yes.
having to regularly entertain young ladies.
I confess at times can be tiresome.
I understand precisely what you mean.
Well then.
Well then,
Oh, Delilah.
oh Ambrose,
My one and only.
my dearest love.
Well, I suppose the croquet set may actually see some use now.
You joke, but I'm really quite formidable on the green.
Oh, my darling, I would never joke about that.
You know, your sister seems to be taking an awfully long time. Perhaps I should go and check on her. She sounded like she may have had a cold.
Oh, that's just Francine. Actresses, you know, she's probably scrapped and restarted to a look a dozen times.
Well, then I'm sure she'd appreciate the help.
Oh, no!
No?
To Francine, such an act would be like peering behind the curtain, shattering the illusion. You must understand, a woman must have a few secrets.
I suppose I can respect that.
Come to think, though, I should go and see how Dara and Frank are getting on.
You would leave me unattended?
Well,
Alone in this house with nary a biscuit to pass the time?
you see, Frank is...
Go on, I'm teasing you. Better make sure that Dara hasn't frightened him out today.
Yes, but I don't understand why you had to bring the puppet.
With Francine indisposed, I thought it would be appropriate to bring a third party along.
It's a puppet.
The puppet's fantastic.
It's a bit odd.
You're odd. Puppet. Manners, please. Don't mind him. He's got a bit of a habit of letting his words get away from him. I'm sorry.
Apology accepted?
So, Dara, how's life?
A process inextricably linked with death.
I suppose that's true?
I'm not very good at this, am I?
No, you're perfectly charming. Very charming indeed. It's just, beginnings are always awkward. And besides, we should remember there's no pressure here. It's merely a social call.
How's life for you?
No, corking as usual. Open skies, pretty girls, and my hand up a puppet's bum, you might expect from any given day. Let's swap. See how you like it. Ah, don't mind him. He is an incurable jokester. I'll show you incurable. Ah, Boris Kerr, how could you? We have company. What are you going to do about it? I am going to refrain from violence. We are among the fair sex after all. Pansy. Did you say? Nazi boy. Ah, coward, bully, cat, thief. Ah.
It's just so bizarre. What are you doing?
Just a bit of light improvisation with puppet. Very receptive scene partner after all. Dabre.
It's just so painfully embarrassing.
It is?
Did you think I find it charming?
Ambrose said it was a terrific way to woo a woman.
Well, I've spent 5 minutes in Ambrose's company, and I know never to take anything he says at face value. I think he might have been playing a prank on you.
I see.
It was charming, though, in an imbecilic sort of way.
Thanks.
Oh, I'm not calling you an imbecile. It was just your behavior that was imbecilic.
Oh.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. That still came out wrong, didn't it?
No, I understand.
I think it's great that you can be who you are with such brazen ineptitude is all. It's sweet.
I think it's great that you can speak so candidly with no regard for our feelings. I suppose.
Well, do you believe in ghosts?
I'm sorry.
Spirits. specters, do you believe in them?
I haven't given it much thought.
I think this place is haunted.
A ghastly thought.
I'm sure of it. I can see them sometimes, you know. In fact, I feel I can almost see them now.
Do you see them often?
Only every now and again. My mother says it's all the macabre books I've read, but I know what I've seen. And it's not too implausible, is it? This world is a graveyard after all.
It is?
Not only in the literal sense that we are surrounded by death and its remnants, but we ourselves are embodied, driven by the ghosts of our forebears. You've never thought of this?
I usually think about some lighter affair.
You're such an innocent. The puddle among lakes. Such vapidity is to be treasured.
I honestly can't tell if you're insulting me or buttering me up.
Who knows? Speech lends itself to misunderstanding. You might as well enjoy the mystery.
The mystery?
Oh, life is all mysteries. And if you think you understand it, you never will.
So you could say that my foolishness is an aid to understanding.
Well, assuming you'd want to understand, then yes, I do. If I could tear this world down to its roots to understand it, I would.
Holy shit.
Kiss me.
What?
In the novels I've read, usually an impassioned declaration of personal truth is a catalyst for a romantic gesture. Kiss me.
But, Puppet is watching.
Oh, that's okay.
All right. Here goes.
Well, that was disappointing.
You really have no filter, do you?
I do like you. I do like you, but I must say, I'd hoped it would spark some new feeling in myself, but one mustn't force such things, I suppose.
Honestly, my heart is, well, it belongs to another, you see.
I figured as much. I know, we can be great friends.
Yes, that sounds terrific.
I've been needing a partner in any case. We could visit graveyards together. Conduct seances and do well, whatever it is you like to do.
Yes, that sounds fantastic.
With your help, we could even perform exhumations.
Exhumations?
Yes. We could exhume bodies and use their components in a ritualized fashion to contact the other side.
Bodies?
It's just dead flesh, you know. They won't mind. It's all in the pursuit of knowledge, you see. Nothing funny.
Dead flesh. Oh.
I must have overexcited him.
Really, you needn't go through all the trouble. I am perfectly fine.
My dear boy, what happened out there?
Delilah, I must say that your daughter possesses a beauty that far exceeds the limits of my frail constitution.
We talked for a while and then he fainted.
Excuse us, gentlemen.
Listen, Frank. Francine needs to come back.
Francine needs to come back?
Delilah is getting suspicious and you need to soothe her concerns.
Soothe.
Yes. Now go. Use your acting.
Yes.
Acting. Also, I need to borrow £10.
Good heavens, what for?
I'm hard up right now.
What did it for you, the dress?
And I need to pay for biscuits.
That is absurd.
I need the biscuits to entertain the ladies. I need the money to give to Giles so that he can make the biscuits so I can entertain the ladies.
Here.
What's this?
£2.
Where's the rest?
I'm an actor.
Frank is going to have a brief rest.
Oh dear, I do hope he's all right.
Quite all right. He was simply irresistible. Fainting is quite in fashion these days. Giles,
Sir?
where is the afternoon spread?
Sir, the situation as it stands.
Is perfectly made whole.
Perfectly made it out of fifth, I'd say.
say, he's getting a bit spotty in his age. Perhaps his dust-up with the horses left him a bit shaken.
I see.
You do?
Yes. It's all perfectly clear now. The truth laid bare before me.
It is.
Yes. Francine is sweet on Frank. It's also obvious now, the way she was talking about him, the way they've been avoiding each other. There's obviously some unresolved tension between them.
Ah, that's because the two of them are actually the same.
Oh, Max Summers. Yes. It was a frightfully fraught affair, filled with histrionics and Gothic secrets and other tedious things that I would love to explain to you, Dara, out in the garden.
Well, perhaps I should join you.
Oh no, torrid secrets like this would be of no interest to a woman of your station. In fact, I think I hear her coming down right now. Yes, I definitely hear her coming down. Francine is coming down the stairs, and you wouldn't want to leave her unattended, would you?
Well, someone has to exhibit proper behavior around a lady.
Who better than you, my darling? Now, off we go.
My dear Francine, I love what you've done with your face. The natural look is best in the country, I find.
Yes?
Yes, in the city one feels certain pressures to wear a mask and to act a certain way, but out here one can let one's hair down.
It can be awfully uncomfortable pretending to be something you're not, but we all have our jobs to do.
Oh, to live freely, with people with whom you share certain commonalities. It is the only way one can hope to experience certain ecstasies.
The stage is where I find my ecstasies. The immediacy of it all, the connections you form.
Oh, I know what you mean. You know, I'm something of an artist myself.
Oh, of what kind?
I paint. Not these unremarkable landscapes Ambrose is always soliciting feedback on, no. I've under depictions of the female form. Nudes, mostly.
Nudes?
Yes. There's nothing so graceful, so vibrant, so worthy of portrayal as a woman's body. You should come visit my summer house sometime. I've created quite the gallery.
Well, it is a rather long-standing artistic tradition.
I have such trouble finding suitable models, though. Many of them are simply paintings of myself. But in you, Francine, I find such inspiration. Looking at you now, I can see that with your help, I could create my finest nude portrait.
You want me to pose for you?
Well, not right now. I have my things, but well, I suppose if we were to go upstairs, we could begin exploring different positions. Perhaps make a cursory sketch.
But you want me to take off my clothes?
Dear, for all your time in the theater, you're still so inexperienced. Right? If you were to travel more, you would find that this is nothing unusual. Like many aristocracy in France often commission such portraits of themselves, and indigenous women of the South Pacific and Africa always walk around bare-breasted.
Commissions. Bare-breasted.
I must have overexcited her.
And that, Dara, is why you never give an actor room for improvisation. You understand why it's best things remain as they are.
It would be unnecessary to make waves at this point.
Precisely.
Whatever are you two talking about?
And the whole sordid history between Frank and Francine, and why no one would stand to gain from having it dragged into the open again. Good heavens, what have you done with my sister?
Oh, well, we spoke about the arts for a while, and she grew lightheaded. Oh, perhaps her corset needs to be loosened.
Oh, no! Consider the deep-sea diver, who must ascend only a few meters at a time. The shock could kill her. I'll just,
But isn't Frank resting? From the sound of it, things could become quite volatile if they were to awaken near one another.
Quite right. I'll just deposit her outside. The fresh air will rouse her.
Won't she get mud on her dress, just dragging her out there like that?
It would be unseemly of me to perform such an act of physical strength in your presence. Once I have moved from your line of sight, I shall hoist her upon my shoulders like Alexander the Great, and you will not be subject to the ghastly sounds of exertion.
Afternoon refreshments, madam.
Giles, wonderful. Tell them that joke you know.
There once was a man from Nantucket.
Oh, Frank. Couldn't leave well enough alone. Always having to prove yourself. Now we must see this damn tedious charade through to its conclusion. Ah, the lady stirs.
Where am I?
You fainted again, old chap.
Gadzooks.
Whoa, whoa, watch your language.
She wanted to paint me.
Can't imagine why. Here, let me help you. Silly goose, I think we can retire this character now. The legendary Creston Howell should show a little decorum.
Oh, and I heartily agree. Ooh, help with the back, it's a bit hard to reach.
Dara knows it's you, by the way.
Yeah.
Sharp girl. She also knows it would only hurt Delilah's pride if she were to find out.
Am I really that bad?
Absolutely dreadful. Stick to Malvolia's revenge from now on. Silly boy. Why do we keep putting on this show?
The critics demand it.
Critics, yes. Always calling what is beyond them mere madness.
Said you didn't want me getting hurt.
Doesn't sound like me.
Don't tell me you've reconsidered. Not now. Not with the engagement. Don't toy with me.
Sorry, yes. You're quite right. It was a flattering cut. You always did have a good sense of aesthetics.
Ambrose,
Yes?
we should hide the dress. Don't want Delilah finding it and thinking I've agreed to pose for her after all.
Yes, hiding it would be smart.
Let us turn back. The ladies are waiting.
Frank, so good to see you up and about. Ambrose, I hope you didn't just leave Francine lying out there.
She rallied, but she's elected to retire for the evening upstairs.
I didn't see her.
She came through a side entrance. I see we have a guest.
The Countess was kind enough to let me in.
I see. I don't believe I got your name when last we met.
I'm Sister Constance from the Church of St. Barnaby, and I believe I have the pleasure of meeting Lord Ambrose Dijon.
I confess I'm not familiar with your order.
We generally keep to ourselves. Too easy for the younger acolytes to succumb to worldly temptations.
The leaders of your order must place a great deal of trust in you to send you somewhere as dangerous as an idle gentleman.
Oh, it isn't a matter of trust that has brought me here, but one of urgent necessity.
How thrilling. Go on.
There is one truth that the human soul finds hardest of all to learn, and that it has nothing to fear. It can never be made to see that nothing can really harm it.
Curious doctrine.
While nothing can harm the soul, being a thing immortal, it can still twist. It can change past all recognition, and it can suffer beyond all imaginations. In the spirit of preservation, my sisters and I have been given a special directive to stem the tide of blasphemy and corruption that is sweeping the continent. Tell me, have you heard of the King in Yellow?
Oh, the play everyone's making such a fuss over.
The same. It is my duty to ensure that all God-fearing Christians know of it, recognize its signs, and understand the dangers it presents.
There's not even been a production of it. With the trash on stage these days, it must be an exceptionally shoddy work.
While it is true that no production has been successfully staged, but have you heard of the fire at the impresario last week?
You mean to say the play had anything to do with
Oh,
it?
the authorities found a lockbox filled with manuscripts among the ashes. Apparently, they had begun rehearsals a scant few days earlier. Now, why this delay? We do not know how the fire started exactly, but this play can acknowledge that it has great potential for stirring civil unrest.
There was a time when a play was considered a failure if it didn't incite a riot.
But these plays drive people to madness.
Well, I was mad at the end of Malvolio's Revenge.
The asylums could no longer handle the influx this play brought them. I've heard stories of great masses of patients huddled in the dark, feverishly reenacting the action of the play over and over. Those still capable of speech, that is. Doubtless, there are many others better at feigning sanity who walk the streets still and remain untreated. Heaven knows what such creatures might be capable of, and what might be the result of such widespread delusions.
It's reminiscent of those medieval dancing plays. Entire villages would dance around for weeks on end, not even stopping to bury those who died of exhaustion, just dancing around the bodies.
Sometimes you've just got to dance.
I should go.
By all accounts, this play has an insidious and altogether convincing theme. Lies that the weak are drawn to, beacons for the deluded.
You said it was blasphemous?
No definite principle has been violated in these wicked pages as far as we can tell. No doctrine promulgated and no conviction outraged. It cannot be judged by any known standard, and if the reviews are to be believed, it can be acknowledged that the supreme note of art has been struck in the King in Yellow. But human nature cannot bear the strain, nor thrive on words in which the essence of pure poison lurks. The very banality and innocence of the first act only allow the blow that comes afterwards to more awful effect.
My word, what a florid description. Well, as you can see, none of us are doing any flailing or gibbering. Therefore, this malady has not visited itself upon us like some unwelcome guest.
If it's not blasphemous, I wonder why does the church concern itself with it?
Even if it isn't blasphemous, in the strictest sense, it leaves no room in the hearts of those that read it for the love of God.
Then they shouldn't have banned it in Paris. When the translated copies arrived in London, it only made it all the more attractive.
Oh, you seem familiar with the play, Mr. Dijon.
Have you ever noticed that whatever new piece of art you find yourself least interested in, the more tedious talk you end up hearing of it?
None of you, have ever purchased or read a copy of The King in Yellow?
I make a point of not reading plays when I'm not working.
Nor I. They always seem so lifeless on the page.
I would very much like to read it, but I've never seen a copy.
I understand that young ladies these days have an unfortunate inquisitive streak in them. But I cannot state in stronger terms how vital it is you do not read this play. If you see a copy, avert your eyes. And if you begin to read the second act, God help you. Past that point, there is no return.
Personally, the first and only criteria I have in purchasing a book is if it will look good upon my shelves.
You've never seen it, never read it, or touched it.
Frank can attest, I loathe plays. I only go to see the ones he's in out of a sense of duty.
As you say. Remember, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord as the water courses. He turneth it whithersoever he will. God be with you.
Goodbye. gated?
Oh, that was all delightfully Gothic. I ought to have written some of that down.
Did Ambrose say you were in the theatre as well, Frank?
I dabbled, though it seems as though it may be less fashionable to be a part of the scene nowadays.
Well, that must be where you and Francine met.
Yes. Francine was a terrifically good friend.
Lover.
Lover.
Not so inexperienced after all, then. You didn't know you had it in you, Frank.
Perhaps we'd better,
Oh, you seem uncomfortable. You needn't be. Conversational flexibility is one of my many strengths. So, what do you make of all this clamor over the King in Yellow?
It's not the sort of play I usually go in for, really. I prefer a good, rip-snorting comedy.
Yes, but as someone with experience in the theatre, is it plausible that a play could drive one to insanity?
Honestly, no. The theatre has a great many powers. At its best, it can transport us to other worlds, allow its audience to live the lives of its characters, but despite the greatest actors of the age taking it on, I've never heard of a production of, let us say, King Lear, driving its audience into the nearest store naked and raving.
If a play contains within it certain ideas, either openly or beneath the surface, it can touch upon something in a person, something ripe for transformation. Have you never been touched by a play?
By many, I should say.
Not that they've had an effect on you.
Oh, flowers and your clothes are scented with them. But nevertheless, there's nothing that could shock a modern audience so, much less provoke such a marked transfiguration. Every idea has been expressed. All that's left is endless repetition.
No, never underestimate humanity's capacity for birthing something new. Your cynicism betrays your lack of experience.
Good heavens, it sounds like you've bought into the hype. Really, I've paged through the thing myself, and honestly, it's dull as hell.
You read it?
I skimmed it, yes. I wasn't about to tell her that. It's right over there.
Good God, didn't you hear what she said about it?
Weren't we all just laughing at how absurd she sounded? Frank, my dear boy. All this talk of madness and infectious ideas is merely a marketing ploy. As trite a bit of writing as it is, the publisher ought to be commended for how well they've made up for its shortcomings, creating a sort of myth out of the play. You can't deny it has generated interest, and perhaps found lodging in the minds of the more pedestrian elements of the society. More out of the suggestion of what the play is than what it actually is, I would say. You see, I was strolling through the streets of the city the other day. I confess to a fondness for the romance of the flaneur, and I passed a man, terribly dressed, so self-consciously fashionable and mumbling, a terrible habit. It only shows how worthless you consider whatever it is you have to say. I could scarcely make out what he was saying, some repetitious phrase, quietly urgent in probing, questioning tones. As I passed him, I slowly put the pieces of the phrase I could make out into something passable. Have you seen the yellow sign? Have you seen the yellow sign? Have you seen the yellow sign? What tosh! It had the simplistic syntax of some awful political slogan, and I found myself shuddering in disgust at the egregious display of all-around poor taste. I sped away at a pace that could be charitably described as purposeful, and tried to put the ugly scene out of my mind. Alas, it reminded me of something an acquaintance of mine had brought up the other night at one of the clubs I maintain a presence at. I can't recall in the slightest what the man was getting at. I confess my focus was elsewhere at the time. But he said something about a yellow sign. Yes, a yellow sign and a lake and a play. Oh yes, he was talking about a play, something fresh out of Paris. Now, my attention was not on the man at the time, but rather on the waiter. Poor manners on my part, yes, one must never pay attention to a member of the serving staff. My attention was on the waiter at the time, because midway through our conversation, I caught him staring at me. And the look on his face, a look of hate, intense and deadly. I have never seen anything like it, but to God, I might never see it again. And then it was gone. And I was left wondering whether I had imagined the look that had upset me so terribly. These memories filled my mind as I walked the streets, and soon, whether I meant it or not, I found myself standing on the stoop of some aged bookseller's shop. I went in, picked out a copy of The King in Yellow, and left. And I tell you, what a waste of money. The thing was unreadable.
You didn't finish it.
I could scarcely go past the first act, dearie. It's positively horrid. An exercise in antiquated devices and purple prose. Giles!
Sir!
I'm becoming overly verbose, and I need to give my guests' ears a rest. A new pot of tea would do wonderfully.
Very good, sir.
So terribly dull when a host succumbs to loquaciousness. The worth of each successive statement is subsequently diminished. You must ignore me.
It's only polite for the host to venture uninformed opinions on the subject. It permits their guests even more unfounded notions.
Here, here. It is the duty of the host to bloviate and the guests to ruminate.
Thank you, Giles.
What was it about?
What about?
The play.
Oh, it was one of those period dramas, royal court and all that. Some decadent, fantastical setting, a thinly veiled allusion or allegory to something or other. It all felt entirely too stilted, too heightened. I mean, it bore no relation to reality. Not that I have much interest in what most writers consider reality. The naturalists are soporifically mundane, and the romanticists are self-gratifyingly indulgent. And I grow closer to both with each passing word. Perhaps the only people who can make it to the end are already mad. Which would explain a great deal.
Do not mock the insane. Their madness lasts longer than ours does. That's the only difference.
And so the world rests on simple comforts like this tea to calm our nerves. Do you approve?
Oh, it's delightful. I wonder if Francine would fancy a cup.
No, she's sleeping. She needs a rest.
I'll just leave it by her bedside.
She hates tea. She hates liquids. Well, but perhaps she's already gone. Didn't feel well. Didn't want to bother us.
I may have left something upstairs for the sake of the ruse.
What did you leave?
Ah!
And I wanted to make it look like there was someone in the bed, so...
What the devil is this?
I know nothing about
Nor I.
it.
Do you know anything about this, then?
You brought it in time.
I didn't want to get it dirty.
Either Francine spontaneously transformed into this thing, or you two have been making a fool out of me.
It's not what it looks
What
like.
it looks like is the two of you have cocked up some scheme for the sole purpose of having a laugh at my expense. I can't believe I bought into it for a moment. I should have known. Dara, we're leaving.
I claim no responsibility for all this. It was all Frank's idea from the start.
You egged me on.
Yes, because it was hilarious, but it wasn't my idea.
I was just trying to be a good chaperone.
Oh.
Not upon us, O King! Not upon us! Not upon us!
Giles, my good man, watch the furniture!
Not upon us!
What have you done?
Frank, get a hold of yourself!
Sorry, it's just...
So much blood!
You all right? Of course he's all right. Look at him.
See anything?
Can he hear us?
Giles, can you hear us?
It's too horrid.
I've never seen anything like it.
Giles, speak to us.
What are we going to do?
What did he say?
What are we going to do?
I told him. Get the
Right.
Open the.
On it.
I had wanted to give you a chance to come clean, Mr. Dijon, but I have here in my hands an itemized list from Bent's Books, indicating that you purchased one copy of The King in Yellow on the 19th of this month. I must ask that you hand it over to me. Oh, what's going on?
Indulging in a bit of afternoon dance. But you are quite right. Yes, I do indeed now recall picking up a copy. It had completely slipped my mind. How embarrassing. Oh, here it is. By all means, take it. It was an impulse purchase. There you are. And no, I did not read it. I am a model of mental health, as anyone can plainly see.
As you say. See to it that nothing else slips your mind.
I wouldn't. Dream of it. Mind your step.
Oh, what are we going to do?
We're going to handle this with dignity. It's what he would have wanted.
He's still
He's
alive!
certainly not acting like it. Giles, speak to us.
He must be in shock. Do we need to keep that sheet over him?
Decided yes.
Bah, I'll get some bandages on him.
He always seems so...
On the level, yes.
Now he's...
Yes.
Could it have been the stress? All of the fuss this afternoon?
He seemed perfectly at ease, catching up on his reading.
Why ever would he do such a thing?
He read The King in Yellow. You heard what the woman said. That would explain it, right?
But why gouge his eyes out?
Suppose we can ask him if he comes around.
Perhaps he didn't like what he saw. I felt much the same after your last play.
Stop! This man is seriously injured.
Giles is a man of the utmost professionalism. I don't expect this will set him back. Giles, will you be all right?
Momentary overexcitement. Be fine shortly.
How can you be so callous? This must be deeply upsetting to you.
Tis a pity to be sure. He had such lovely eyes.
Giles, why did you do this?
Thou who burnest in heart for those who burn in hell, whose fires thyself shall feed in turn. How long be crying, have mercy on them, God! Why? Who art thou to teach, and he to learn?
Furious.
He must still be in shock. This should help, but we really ought to get him to a hospital.
I quite agree. I'll see you outside.
Dara, gather your things. We're leaving. Dara, I realize this must be putting a great deal of stress on you, but we need to get Giles to see the doctor. Dara, put the book there. Dara, what are you reading?
What is it?
She's reading.
It must be my copy.
Dara, love, we need to go. Put the book down.
I have to finish it.
She started the second act?
Now is the time to get caught up in another book, and I don't want you reading that. Not now.
It's nothing to fear.
This is not the time or the place for this. Give me the book. Dara, please stop reading. Put it down. Dara, please put it down. Dara, you don't need to. Listen to me. You don't need to finish it. Close the book and give it to me.
You don't understand!
What don't I understand? What don't I understand, darling? Please stop. Look at Giles. What if? I can't. You can't throw your mind away.
I don't feel mad.
But what is it then? Why are you? I can't follow where you're going. I can't lose you. I don't understand. What is it? What does it do? I think. All right. We'll read it together. It's okay. We'll be together. It's okay.
Beautiful, isn't it? She fears she'll lose her daughter to madness, and so she chooses to join her in her fate.
I don't know what to make of it.
One mustn't fear having one's view expanded. Would you remain a child if you could?
To be sick.
It would be a shock, wouldn't it? To be a child and to awaken to all you now know of the world, all at once. It would be absolutely devastating. How might you act? How might the other children see you? Well, they'd call you mad, of course. You wouldn't be, though. You'd simply have a broader view of things.
Such an understanding could be... It could be unbearable.
But would you want to know the truth?
What are you driving at?
I'm not driving at anything. I'm speaking idly. You could even say carelessly. But that's what rooms like this are for, speaking idly. Tell me, do you think any of your plays have told the truth?
None of them are true, but if we perform them truthfully, the audience feels it. They live in the truth we create.
Comfortable truths. Love triumphs. The world is intrinsically just. And that most insidious notion that you find baked into every story, meaning. When all action serves the plot, all actions have meaning. Everything just fits together.
Are you saying they don't?
I'm not saying anything at all. I've said nothing this whole time. You said even less.
Speak plainly to me.
Take a look at Giles. Poor, fussy Giles. He must have wanted to block it out. The more structured your worldview, the more painful it must be to see it come crumbling down. Everyone reacts differently to the truth.
I certainly wouldn't want to read such a play if that was the result.
You mustn't insult the man. He responded according to his nature. Giles, take the afternoon off.
Very good, sir.
As I said, he'll be all right. He possesses all the quintessentially English values, royalty, temperance, and a talent for suppression. I don't expect him to change much, more's the pity.
You've changed.
Oh. Have I?
You've always affected a cavalier, carefree attitude, and I have always appreciated it, but you've never been cold or cruel. What's happened to you?
One final irony. Nothing has happened to him. Nothing has changed. Not really. In the end, I found what I always suspected I would.
Ambrose, did you read The King in Yellow?
Suppose I had read it. The night we read it, cover to cover. And then reread it and wept. And laughed and trembled with a horror which assails me yet. This is the thing that troubles me, for I cannot forget Carcosa, where black stars hang in the heavens, where the shadows of men's thoughts lengthen in the afternoon, when the twin suns sink into the lake of Harley, and my mind will bear forever the memory of the pallid mask. God, oh, I pray God will curse the writer as the writer has cursed the world with this beautiful, stupendous creation, terrible in its simplicity, irresistible in its truth, a world which now trembles before the King in Yellow.
Ambrose, I don't know what you're talking about, but we can find you help. It hurts seeing you so.
It can't be helped. There's no putting the chick back in the egg. Would you rob me of this feeling? This terror, this joy so poignant, I feel it in every nerve. Oh, you say it pains you to see me so, but I see only the dull reflection of pain on your face. You haven't felt the real thing. You haven't seen it. It's a gas.
I don't know who you are anymore.
You could know me.
By reading it, is that what you want?
You and I know. You never get what you want in this world.
I'll do it. I feel something is coming.
No. It is already here. Every great painting has a mystery, a secret smile, an unopened box, some element that remains hidden from the viewer. It's the mystery that keeps you looking, scanning the image for its meaning. But for us, there are no more mysteries. The phantom of truth has been laid. What else is left to say? The biscuits are dry, that's all that's left.
Did you know this would happen?
It's going to be everywhere soon. There's no point in shielding others from it. If you haven't read it, you'll have heard the words spoken in 1,000 different languages, broken down one quotation at a time. The ambition of Caesar and Napoleon pales before that which cannot rest until it has seized the minds of men and controlled even their unborn thoughts.
You speak of the King in Yellow.
He is a king whom emperors have served. Your mother seems to be taking it well.
She hasn't said a word since we began the second act.
What could she say? What are you working on?
What have you been painting?
If you were to listen to Giles, he'd say it was a charming bit of pedantry.
This is horrifying.
No, please, tell me what you really think.
There's something beneath the surface. Something barely visible and terribly obvious. It's leering at me. It's mocking me for not seeing it sooner.
I dare say you have a better eye than Giles.
Do you feel it?
I feel many things.
It's like this. It's paper thin. And behind it is a vast emptiness. An abyss.
Yes, I feel that too.
You say there are no more mysteries, but I swear there is another. It's here, in this feeling, behind it.
By all means, sound the depths. But, Dara,
Yes?
mind your eyes.
We should perish.
What?
It would be difficult. Even now, I feel in my sense of resolve I haven't felt in ages. It would be very easy. It would put an end to this problem.
I see no problems here.
But there is, dear Ambrose. The problem of what to do next. It would be a logical step, don't you agree, Dara?
The insight that comes with death is inevitable. It will keep.
But it's unbearable. Didn't the author shoot himself?
I understand he is still alive.
It would take more than bullets to kill such a fiend. Oh, the wickedness. The hopeless damnation of a soul that can fascinate and paralyze human creatures with such words. Words understood by the ignorant and the wise alike. Words that are more precious than jewels, more soothing than music, more awful than death.
No, you can't die! There's so much material we must go through yet.
Material?
From the play. Now, I recognize that none of you are actors, and I won't hold it against you, but I know what we must do. The key scenes must be reperformed. I command it.
Frank, what the hell are you talking about?
No, it's my bloodline, you see. I am of royal blood. And when he comes, I shall sit upon the throne and begin a new dynasty. The people will bow before the black stars that hang in the sky and rise and tremble before the pallid mask. But first, we must perform some scenes.
This is absurd.
You dare defy me, heir to the King in Yellow and founder of the imperial dynasty of England? Oh, what have we here? A pretender to the throne. How dare you, you tiny, vacuous, smiling fool! I will show you what happens to pretenders in this kingdom. And don't you flop at me! Guys, help me! This is what happens to pretenders to the throne! Not upon us! So, is anyone attached to any particular parts?
I can't say I am.
Bully. Now, Delilah, you'll be playing the part of Camilla. Dara, you'll play Casilda. Ambrose, play the stranger. And I, of course, shall play the part of the king.
That doesn't seem a little dicey to
You
you.
better than I. Now, we'll just be doing some excerpts from some of the key scenes. We can skip most of the first act. But then we absolutely must include Casilda's song. Act 1, Scene 2, I assume the lyrics are as indelibly stamped into your brain as they are into mine. Go down stage center, find your light, and begin.
I don't know the tune.
Take a breath. Listen.
The twin suns sink behind the lake. The shadows lengthen in Carcosa. Strange is the night where black stars rise, and strange moons circle through the skies, but stranger still is lost Carcosa. Songs that the Hyades shall sing, where flap the tatters of the king, must die unheard in dim Carcosa. Song of my soul, my voice is dead. Die thou unsung as tears unshed, must dry and die in lost Carcosa.
Beautifully done.
I knew the music.
Of course you did. The song is the same. The voice and steps have but changed through the years. Now, this next part should be familiar to you as well. The masquerade and the reveal. Now, very important you get this right. He wears no mask, you see? Do you understand?
I don't need you to explain it to me.
I'm not going to give you a line reading. I just want to make sure you understand what's being said.
I understand it.
Show me! Delilah, you're up.
I don't understand.
It's a masquerade. You dance at a masquerade, so dance.
Why are we doing this?
You don't dance to get anywhere in particular. If that were the case, you would walk. The dance is the thing. But why out of your head?
I see.
You? Then show me. That's your line.
What?
Your line. You, sir, should unmask.
What?
You were doing so well. Do you need to be on book?
I just thought I saw.
You cannot afford to be distracted during performance. The only thing that exists for you is the stranger in front of you. The dance has ended, the masquerade reaches its conclusion, and you say,
You, sir, should unmask.
Indeed.
Indeed. We have all laid aside disguise but you.
I wear no mask.
No mask. No mask.
something on your mind, love? You were hardly there for that at all. There's no going back now. The moment has come and it has gone. We all have to live with that. We have to advance in the script before you're too far gone.
But first, an intermission, perhaps?
Splendid idea. Giles!
Yes, sir.
Your Majesty or Your Royal Highness will suffice, Giles.
Your Highness.
Would you kindly be a chap and fetch us some wine and biscuits? All of this dancing has us plumb worn out.
It would be an honor, Majesty. Have you seen the yellow sign?
As a matter of fact, I have, old chum. Good of you to check in.
And Giles, take a care not to trip and fall. It's important we don't get as broad as all that.
Good, sir.
Well, I suppose now is as good a time as any for some notes.
Well, it's hardly a break if we're getting notes.
It's not a break for us, love. Now, Ambrose, your choices were entirely too obvious. Yes, we know the stranger is unknowable and portentous, but you really didn't play him that way. Give me something less defined next time. An ambiguous choice for an ambiguous character.
I thought the obvious choice an elegant one. suit the word to the action.
An amateur's mistake.
No, a performance must always be, well, the audience must always be kept completely in the dark regarding an actor's choices. An obtuse performance gives them something to chew on, and they will invariably substitute the cleverest reasoning they can think of, or ascribe it to a unapproachable genius.
Does a work like this require such contrivance?
No, certainly not. The words speak for themselves. All is revealed in the beginning, but nothing can be hidden, but nothing can be understood. Your performance must synthesize these ideas. Acting is tension.
And here I thought the theatre to be the one space free from such malignant sophistry. You're bringing outside ideals to an innocent text and corrupting the message.
I am a director.
That's what I just said.
I'm going to wait outside the garden. Would you like to join me, Mother? Would you like to wait outside with me?
Yes.
Have a care. It's getting dark and Giles hasn't lit the lamps yet.
Aldebaran and Hasta haven't sunk beneath the lake just yet. I'll be able to see. Mother,
Yes?
come along.
Yes, love.
So many words. It's sweet in a hollow way.
Is it?
Despite everything, they still play their games with each other.
I wish I had something to say,
You don't have to say anything to me.
but I want to. I just can't say anything without the words ringing false to me.
Don't say anything then.
What's happening to me?
Do you really want to know? I mean, knowing won't make it any easier. That much should be clear by now.
I'm still here, aren't I? I'm still standing even after. I can take it.
If you're sure. I brought Puppet along. I thought he might cheer you. I could maybe explain through him. The play has broken down your story function. Not in the sense of reducing your importance, such as you could be said to have importance, but in your very capability of parsing the events before you in an orderly manner. You are unable to impose on reality the numbing filter of narrative, leaving your psyche completely vulnerable to the awful truth, shattering your delusions of self, and leaving you utterly alone forever. It is permanent. You may attempt to hide behind fantasy or indifference, but such efforts will inevitably rot from within, as the hand of the king suffuses your whole being, and only one truth remains to you. Stop! I'm sorry, I thought doing it in the voice would make it easier to hear. Mother?
You're absolutely right. I don't know anything. I don't even know who I am. I'm absolutely terrified. I know I'm laughing right now, but I really need you to help me. I don't know what to do.
You were Delilah Castaigne, my mother, and a great woman. But who you are now is not for me to say.
Please just hold me. Do you still love me?
Of course I do.
Do you really?
I'm drifting, Mother. I see so much more than I used to. I will say, though, it pains me to see you so.
It does at that.
But I have to see this through. Something tells me that our understanding is still limited, but the play can take us further. It's a framework for something greater, something beyond the text. And all I have to do now is to continue my study of it, filtering the world through this yellow light is changing me, moment by moment. It feels much the way it did before I read the play. The imminence of a revelation not yet produced, and I don't know what's on the other side.
Was I a good mother?
You still are.
Couldn't stop you reading it. Couldn't stop myself. I thought it was out of love, but maybe it was weakness.
Not every act of weakness is foolish, and not every act of strength is wise. You did what you thought was right.
You weren't ever scared to read it, were you?
It's just a play. Any feelings it brought out in me were already there. I just couldn't see them before. It's like the stars.
They're turning black.
But they've always been black.
Yes, but what I'm saying, though, is that the words don't really matter, do they? Fundamentally, the text is just aesthetics. What it signifies is more important.
The last time, I am not going to let you paraphrase your lines. The words matter. This is the ritual, and you can memorize like everyone else.
If you're not producing the damn thing, why are you being such a tyrant about the lines?
But the key scenes must be reproduced in some form, and your cockamamie recapitulations will not do.
Ah, you've returned. Most obsequious apologies. I've been an exceptionally poor host of late. When one is confronted with deranged ramblings, the only polite course is to smile and nod.
A polite response.
I'm so sorry. I'm just so happy.
Oh, thank God. Over here, Giles.
Will you be needing anything else, sir?
No. Thank you. I'll let you know if we require any other diversions.
Very good, sir. Very good.
And Giles,
Ah,
thank you for performing your duty so admirably. It's hard to find a good, straight man these days.
what else can I do?
Well, I think that is a long enough break. Let us resume the action.
Who could it be at this hour?
We'll never get through it at this rate.
May I come in? I regret to tread on your hospitality once again. The shadows have considerably lengthened outside. I'm afraid the neighboring areas have grown unsafe.
How could I refuse? Please, come inside.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I was curt with you earlier. Please understand, I only meant to protect you.
It's quite all right. If I ever actually listened to criticism, I fear I would be quite put out.
Only meant to protect you. Oh, how arrogant. Oh, so futile. Oh, can you forgive me, please?
You've done nothing to warrant such a thing, I assure you.
No, please, you must. You must forgive me. The rudeness, the presumption, the unspoken assumption that I could know best.
Very well. You are forgiven.
Oh, bless you. Oh, I confess it weighed heavily on my heart. It seemed such a small thing, but it was of such importance for me to hear it. Oh, I feel wonderful now. Oh, thank you ever so much.
It is important one handles a slight with grace. I am incapable of doing less, my dear.
Think nothing of it.
Oh, and magnanimous at that. What a lovely home you have here. And such gracious guests as well. I had begun to fear for my safety outside, you see, but now my fears seem so silly. When places of light and warmth such as this still remain, bastions of goodwill and charity.
Whatever is there to fear?
Well, nothing now, in the presence of such clear-eyed lucidity. But silly me. I had begun to think that the locals had grown quite hostile as of late. There was something in their eyes that was not present before. A malice. But that wasn't what frightened me, oh no. I've seen hostility before, and it's quite common when one is presented with the truth, and I know how to handle it. And I wasn't surprised when my scriptures that I carry have been defaced, edited in the most profane ways. No. What was disturbing was my response to their gaze. A violent sense of revulsion. In turn, I found myself contemplating violence. How horrid. I suppose that's what I truly wish absolution for.
Ah. Well, that must be unnerving. Feeling something you are unaccustomed to.
Forgive me, please.
I am not a priest.
But you must. You must forgive me this heinous impulse I feel. This violence I feel in my heart. This urge that I must rip it out of my breast or risk damnation.
I forgive you.
The feeling remains. I can see it. I can see it in your eyes. What is it that looks to the world through those eyes?
Did you?
And now, the king has opened his tattered mantle, and there's only God for us to cry to now. We are in Carcosa. Why? What have I done to deserve this? I didn't open it out of curiosity or rebelliousness. I only opened it so that I would know what we faced. I thought I was protected. But there is no protection, no refuge, no stone under my feet, a roof over my head. I thought I understood. But it's all ashes now, leaves before the wind, and I can't. It's all so.
I understand you.
Woe to you. Woe to all of you who have been crowned by the king in yellow. Beasts! All of you! You dare trap me in this burning house, this house that is collapsing under your accumulated weight of sins and lies. There's only one thing to do for beasts. It is to hunt them and butcher them. The whole world is athirst. Now, let it drink. Tonight, I join the hunt. Oh! Oh! Oh!
It started out like this. Like a lullaby that your mother might sing to you as you fall asleep, that you still hear as you dream. Like a rising chorus within you that I couldn't hear. It started out like a dream. I was here, or someplace very like here, and I stood by the curtains, and there was a man. He stood under a streetlight in a churchyard. And as I watched him, he turned to look at me, and I was instantly reminded of a coffin worm. Whatever it was about the man that so repelled me, I did not know. But the impression of a plump white grave worm was so intense and nauseating that it must have shown in my expression, for he turned his puffy face away with a movement that reminded me of a disturbed grub in a chest. I think I'm dying. What I am now is a doorway. And through that doorway is an inky sky. And I can hear the wind rushing through the trees and the crackle of some strange fire. And I can hear his voice, like my own, singing to me. He sings. He sings. And the things he sings make sense the way they do in dreams. It sings. It looks so much now like the man in that dream. I can't feel the bottom of this lake. I can't see it. When you sleep, you find him every night. When you breathe out, when you look into my eyes, in dark glass, he finds you. He touches your soul, caresses it. His fingers are in your eyes. When you close them, you see him. When you close them, he sees you. And when you dance, it is with him. He dances with you. Oh, it is not decay he brings. It is an endless song. An endless play. It is his play. It is his song. It is his heart you feel beating in your chest. You can hear him breathe in the black of the ocean. You can hear him breathe. And when you look at the sky, he smothers you. He is smothering you. The king in yellow is here, right here. And you try to speak, but your voice dies in your throat and you walk without choosing it. You. Who are you? What is this? What is this? What is this? Black stars. I think I'm dying. I wish the priest would.
The scalloped tatters of the king in yellow must hide Yatil forever.
Stabbed. Think of the long journey, the days of peril, the dreadful nights. Think of how he wandered for her sake year after year through perilous lands, yearning for kith and kin, yearning for her. Arrest truth.
If you're delirious, I'll fetch the bandages.
The phantom of the past would go no further. If it is true he sighed that you find in me a friend, let us turn back together. You will forget here, under the summer sky. I held him close, pleading, caressing. I seized him, white with anger, but he resisted. The phantom of the past. If it is true he sighed that you find in me a friend, let us turn back together. The phantom of the past would go no further.
It might be too late for Delilah, but I can still save you.
Oh, that can wait. I can use this. This next part will play better on the brink of expiration.
This is madness. I'll patch you up.
You will not! My apotheosis approaches, and we shall perform the next scene, wherein Casilda and the stranger find the king nailed to his throne. Giles! Fetch a hammer and nails!
Yes, Majesty.
Come to a bridge where few may pass, and pass, cried the keeper, but I laughed and said, there is time, and he smiled, and and shut the gates.
You can't expect me to go along with this, your hands!
Oh, you can and you will. You would rob me of this? Oh, I can feel it. The air is positively crackling. It has to happen, and it has to happen now.
No, I won't do it!
If you won't, Giles will. He understands that the king is not to be defied, but Ambrose. When Giles swings the hammer, he may damage more than my palms. Do you understand? Do you want that on your conscience as well?
No.
Very well then. Dara, you help restrain me. Any reservations? Excellent. Shall we?
You don't need to do this.
Do you know what separates the great actors from the rest?
What?
Commitment.
Did you think I'd forgotten about you? Dara pages through the manuscript in disbelief, eventually landing on the appropriate page. Whatever she had expected to find on the other side of her study of the play, it wasn't this. Nothing in The King in Yellow had touched upon the fact that Dara was actually a character in a play of the same name. Only the insight she had gained from her study had allowed her to see beyond that invisible wall that separates audience and subject and empowered her to shatter it. As Dara reads aloud the now more literary in style than normal stage directions, an unexpected but inevitable shift in her understanding of self occurs, and with little fanfare, Dara vanishes. Not literally. Now, knowing that she has heretofore been embodied by an actor, the persona no longer holds together, and neither does the person who stands reading. Like a fire, burning from the inside out, spreading from page to page, Dara's transfiguration has contaminated their actor, and so too now that person can no longer be said to exist. What remains is a being unprecedented, unaccounted for, and uniquely positioned to influence the narrative. All right. So how does it end? As Ambrose kneels weeping at Frank's side, half hidden in the dark and unseen, Constance creeps back into the room. She attacks the two with her knife, and Ambrose, unable to fight back and protect Frank, at the same time falls under her blade. Straining against the nails that hold his hands, Frank screams in an agony that eclipses the one that came before. He screams right up until the moment that Constance slits his throat. She kneels before the body, but not before covering Frank in a golden cloth and putting the small diadem back on his head, crowning Frank as the king in yellow. Damn, that is pretty dark. And darkness isn't so bad a thing, but I thought this was a comedy. Maybe we could split the difference? Let the red dawn surmise what we shall do when this blue starlight dies and all is through. Beautifully done. And now we travel beyond the curtain.
Sorry.
Don't be. From where I sit, it's even clearer than it was before. The ending can wait. Where's Dara?
I don't know. I'm going to get those bandages.
Don't leave me!
Careless. I was careless. I thought I was free. You, sir, should unmask. We all have laid aside disguise but you.
I understand now. It's a miracle. It's a harrowing miracle.
There is no such thing.
I have a purpose now.
No. No, you have served your purpose.
What is left for you?
All that's left now are aesthetics.
Then I shall rid you of those. You, sir, should
Ah!
unmask.
I wear no mask.
No mask. No mask. No. No, you don't.
Giles,
Sir?
I need to collect myself. Tell them that joke you know.
Tell who, sir?
Ambrose.
I thought you left. I thought you'd gone.
I did.
Where?
Dazzling light. I crept towards the door, and the room, it faded away. The arches, the roof, all gone. And as I raised my singed eyes to the fathomless glare, I saw the black stars hanging in the heavens, and the wet winds of Holly chilled my face. And beyond, under leagues of tossing cloud waves, I saw the moon dripping wet with spray, and the towers of Carcosa rose behind the moon. And I heard his voice, rising, swelling, thundering through the flaring light, and as I fell, his radiance increasing, washed over me like waves of flame, and as I descended into the depth, I heard the King in Yellow whispering to my soul, "It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God."
How did you come back?
I'm still there.
So am I. Find me there, in the stars.
Let me see your face.
This is my face now.
What a cliche. I want to see. Handsome as always. We could stay here together.
Together.
Help me up, old chap. You know, I never did see that painting.
It's horrible. I tried to express something true, but the only thing I could bring myself to was... It doesn't matter. See for yourself.
Oh, it is horrible and terrifying and the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
You mean it?
Well, of course I mean it, you silly, stupid, absolutely infuriating, wonderful man. Of course it's beautiful, it's you.
But it's...
Life, banal, horrific, and breathtaking all the same. You were right. There's no putting the chick back in the egg. Life is full of terrifying vistas that maybe we would be better off shutting our eyes to. But it is beautiful. If you don't shut your eyes, if you embrace it in its fullest, if you have someone to share it with, someone who understands.
I would like that. Very much.
This is our home. Listen to my voice. Hold my hand. Here is the rest you have sought. Here is the peace you have yearned for all your life.
Here we will sit and talk, long into the night, of strange and beautiful things.
Songs of the Hyades, magical moments, dreams.
Visitors will shun us.
But they have no voices.
It It is dark outside now.
We have each other in this darkness. We will make it a place of warmth. Our hearts will beat and merge in these depths.